So I lost connection with the last show. My noise reduction was on the entire time. Okay. What if I turned it off and then turn it back on again? Okay. I feel like that. I don't know. Might do something. Hello, everybody. How's it going? What are you guys up to? How y'all feeling?
The Ballantine collection dropped.
What's wrong with the Ballantine connection? The Ballantine connection dropped? That was me. My streaming software. I've never had this happen ever. It just froze up. It got an error. My computer did not crash. All I had to do was restart my streaming software again. Got an error message. There might be an update for it or something. So you guys should all watch this video.
The villainous detractors like Sis Nolliver, and I'm a scientist, and this is Hello, and welcome to Back to the Science. I'm Dr. Sis Nolliver, and I'm a scientist, and this is Cindy Oliver, and she's a dog, and that's just a domestic dog, not a raccoon dog. Now, over the last few weeks, there's been quite a bit in the news about the origins of COVID. First, there was a new report from the US Department of Energy, which said they had low confidence intelligence that it came from a lab. Then the US Senate launched an inquiry where they interviewed a few people with no experience in either coronaviruses or emergency viruses who were sure that it came from a lab. And finally, some new data was released that showed that some of the samples found at the Huanan seafood market that were positive for SARS-CoV-2 were also positive for DNA of animals that are known to be susceptible to SARS-CoV-2. So in this video, we'll have a look at all this new evidence, and we'll start with the new data regarding the samples from the Huanan market. And there's a bit of a backstory to this stuff.
Yeah, so this is what you guys are going to want to pay attention. We've only got 3 viewers. What you're going to want to pay attention to here is the evidence that she discusses, okay? Listen to what she says and listen very closely. Listen to this part right here.
Data that goes back over a year. This preprint was posted on Research Square on the 25th of February 2022, and it's a study looking at the presence of SARS-CoV-2 in samples taken from the Huanan market in January 2020. The authors found SARS-CoV-2 virus in a number of samples taken from the market, but they didn't find it in any of the animal swabs that they took. However, it's important to note that they didn't swab any of the species of animals known to be susceptible to SARS-CoV-2 that have been shown to be present at the market at the time the outbreak is believed to have occurred. They also show that there was a correlation between samples that contained SARS-CoV-2 and samples that had human genetic material. And this, of course, makes perfect sense because we know that there were a number of people at the market who were infected with SARS-CoV-2. However, if we look a bit more closely at figure A, we see that although it is clear that SARS-CoV-2 correlates with human genetic material, it also correlates with some other genetic material that the authors haven't identified. The authors have marked SARS-CoV-2 and Homo sapiens in red, but there is another grey dot right next to the Homo sapiens red dot. So, what genetic material constituted the various grey dots? Well, for ages we didn't know because the authors hadn't released their data. But then suddenly, some of it was released on the GISAID database. It was then subsequently removed and all sorts of argy-bargy ensued, which I won't go into. Importantly though, scientists were able to download the data and analyse it. 19 virologists from 6 countries were involved in the analysis, and their findings have been written up as a report, which is published on Zenodo. So, what did they find? A number of samples that were positive for SARS-CoV-2 were also positive for mitochondrial DNA from a number of mammals that are known to be susceptible to SARS-CoV-2, including the common raccoon dog, Malayan porcupine, armour hedgehog, musk palm civet, and hoary bamboo rat. And these samples were also taken from the area of the market that had the highest density of positive SARS-CoV-2 samples. Importantly, in some samples that were positive for SARS-CoV-2, they found genetic material from animals, in particular raccoon dogs, but only minimal material from humans. Now, of course, this doesn't prove that there was an infected animal there, or that even if there was, that animal was the source of the infection, but it is consistent with a zoonotic spillover. And it adds to the other evidence that already points to a zoonotic spillover, including the fact that there is nothing in the virus that suggests it was manipulated in a lab. The fact that analysis shows early cases were centred around the Wuhan market, even though it's not a particularly busy place compared with many other venues in Wuhan, and the fact that analysis shows there were at least 2 separate cross-species transmission events into humans, as opposed to a mutation in humans following one initial spillover.
Wow, so that's a lot of evidence that she brings, isn't it? That's a lot of evidence. It's a lot of studies, verified, peer-reviewed studies that prove everything that she just said, because she's an actual scientist and she follows the science. Interesting, right? Now, you know what she's about to tell you? With all the evidence that she just provided that proves her point, she's going to show you the evidence, the actual evidence, and then she's going to talk about it that disproves it. Watch this.
And if you want more details on this evidence, I have covered it in a previous video, which I will provide a link to in this video's description. More importantly though, this new analysis destroys one of the many claims made by lab leak proponents to bolster their case. Many lab leakers point to the fact that the virus was only found in samples of human genetic material as evidence that the outbreak didn't start at the market.
Dude, am I getting shut down on channels for playing this? Oh, dude, no, man. What? What's going on? Wait a minute. Oh, we restarted with the same title, but we're only live for 10 minutes. Wait a minute, I'm confused. Dude, we're not live. Streamed 10 minutes ago. Why aren't we live on the main channel, bro? So not cool. Good. Okay, we went live on the main channel. We just went live on the main channel. And this other channel is live now too. Okay. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the show. I'm so sorry. I noticed the numbers were 2 channels down. I just looked over, and I was worried that I had strikes, man, because I am playing something that is very controversial, and for some reason I get penalized for, even though I'm not saying anything about it. I'm just playing something that's already established a scientist on YouTube, right? But I think it's very important that you guys hear this. Very important.
We now know that this assertion was false. Similarly, lab leakers like to point to the fact that no animal samples from the market tested positive for SARS-CoV-2 as further evidence in support of their case. We now know definitively that there were SARS-CoV-2 susceptible species of animals at the market that were not included in the animals tested. So it's hardly surprising that no animals tested positive.
So remember, this is the kind of stuff that she debunks, that people like Jimmy Dore he spoon feeds it to his freaking audience day and night, non-stop. John Campbell, Robert Malone, John Campbell, Robert Malone, John Campbell, Robert Malone, John Campbell, Robert Malone. Oh, the doctor from Florida, Dr. Lobotomy. Oh, Ron DeSantis is doing a great job in Florida on COVID. Oh, blah, 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 blah.
Oh, and by the way, the reason I'm referring to lab leak proponents as lab leakers is just because it's shorter and easier to say. It's not meant to be derogatory. If you think it is, get over yourself. So that was the new evidence that has recently been uncovered that supports the zoonotic spillover theory. Let's now have a look at the evidence for a lab leak. Here it is. If you're wondering why you can't see anything on this page, it's not a mistake.
Hello
it's because
again.
There isn't anything on it. Because there is no evidence. Now, I'm sure right now there are a bunch of people shouting at the screen and hammering on their keyboards that I'm wrong because they have seen a video or read a Substack or tweet thread showing the evidence. Maybe they read a preprint or a paper in a dodgy predatory journal that claimed to provide evidence. And for those of you who don't know what a predatory journal is, it's a journal that prioritises profits over science and publishes papers that haven't undergone proper peer review for a fee. And the most prolific publisher of these types of journals is MDPI. This doesn't mean that every paper published in an MDPI journal is dodgy, but they do definitely publish a lot of rubbish. Now, the thing is, you read these things and they sound pretty sciencey and convincing, but unless you have expertise in virology, it's impossible to know whether what they are saying is legit or just bollocks. Sometimes the claims made by these people are so obviously wrong that even I can work out they are talking bollocks, but sometimes you need someone who is a domain expert to point out the flaws. And I'll just give you a few examples. After the report that I covered came out, a number of lab leakers rushed to discredit it on Twitter. Alex Washburn, for instance, said the following: "How's that for misleading? The metagenomics sample broadcaster showed massive amounts of raccoon dog DNA, ... didn't have any SARS-CoV-2 in it." And a large number of people just accepted that Dr. Washburn was right. But he wasn't. The sample was PCR negative, but it was positive when using next generation sequencing, which means it did contain SARS-CoV-2 RNA. And here is another one, this time from Elena Chan. Another serious case of the proximal origin authors not carefully reading the method section of the Chinese CDC's paper, whose data they used in their hashtag origin of COVID analysis. Samples were processed in a way such that human genetic material was removed. Now, if Dr. Chan had a bit more expertise...
Right, so you see how that woman, doctor, she says that she's a doctor. And she claims to know what she's talking about. Now listen to what the scientist has to say about what the doctor tweeted. These are the kinds of people that Jimmy Dore listens to.
She would know that...
And these are the kind of people that I listen to.
That it is not possible to just selectively remove human genetic material. There are kits that allow you to remove mammalian RNA, but not specifically human RNA.
So,
but they were just tweets. This is a full-blown preprint. The authors claim to have found an endonuclease fingerprint that indicates that SARS-CoV-2 had a synthetic origin. And they provide lots of sciencey sounding detail that they claim supports this finding.
Bro,
here's the thing though.
These people are probably using ChatGPT to make these reports now. You know, these quacks are using ChatGPT to say, make me a legitimate looking study. You know, and ChatGPT's like, okay, I will do that, Earthen Master.
It's total bollocks. The things that they put forward as being a synthetic fingerprint have all been shown to occur naturally in other coronaviruses. And this paper here, which was published in a proper peer-reviewed journal, provides further details on why their analysis is wrong. Now, if you would like a more layman-friendly explanation of why the preprint is bollocks, Dr. Sam Gregson, aka the bad boy of science, has made a great video that goes through all the flaws in the preprint. And as an added bonus, he has a much more pleasant voice than me and doesn't wave his hands around. Now, not all lab leakers go to the trouble of writing complex, dodgy papers. A lot of the arguments put forward are a lot more simplistic. So I will go through some of them now. I won't cover all of them because there are just too many. After all, it's pretty easy to make up lies, so there's no limit on how many you can make up. And of course, a lot of arguments involve conspiracies because, of course they do. And here's one. All the scientists in the world are part of a huge conspiracy to hide the lab leak so they can keep doing gain-of-function research. Yes, all scientists are evil except for a few plucky scientists who are exposing them, who are as pure as the driven snow. The key problem with this conspiracy is that the majority of scientists who are doing research into viral origins aren't doing
the Valentine Collection.
And it's
I had to go rewrite a business plan
because
because ChatGPT put a ton of useless steps in
detractors
it.
like to make it out to be. This table here shows some of the breakthroughs that have been made possible thanks to gain-of-function research. Closely related to the crazy claim that all scientists are part of a huge conspiracy to hide the truth is the following claim. There is a conspiracy amongst all scientific journals not to publish anything that opposes natural origins for SARS-CoV-2.
I hope you guys aren't subscribing to this bullshit.
This one is very easy to disprove because this letter to the editor was published in Science in May 2021, calling for both hypotheses regarding the origin of COVID-19 to be investigated fully. I guess the scientists who put their names to the letter also didn't get the memo that they were supposed to be covering up the lab leak. It's also worth noting that one of the scientists that signed this letter, Michael Warraby, did continue to investigate both hypotheses and came to the conclusion that the lab leak hypothesis was implausible. Of course, if you write a completely nonsense paper claiming to have evidence that SARS-CoV-2 was created in a lab when you don't, that isn't going to get published in a reputable journal. That's not a conspiracy, though. It's just how scientific publishing is supposed to work.
Thank you.
And then there is this. It's a huge coincidence that SARS-CoV-2 emerged in a city where there was a lab studying coronaviruses. Now, before we talk about the SARS-CoV-2 coincidence, I would like to tell you about another suspicious coincidence. In 2013, there was an outbreak of a dangerous bacterial pathogen known as Pseudomonas aeruginosa at a hospital in Sydney. Well, it just so happens that our lab, which is also in Sydney, was working with the same pathogen. And here's some pictures that I took as proof. What are the chances of the outbreak occurring in the same city as a lab that was working on the pathogen? The chances are, in fact, very high because Pseudomonas aeruginosa is a WHO priority pathogen. So there's a large number of labs all over the world working on it. And I can say absolutely that we had nothing to do with it because the outbreak was a different strain. The source was traced to a contaminated sink. Well, it turns out that it's pretty similar when it comes to coronaviruses. Although people like to talk about the Wuhan Institute of Virology studying coronaviruses as something unique, this picture here, which was put together by Michael Warraby, shows that there's lots of cities in China where there were labs doing coronavirus research. Given you require a populated area like a city for an outbreak to take hold, it's not that much of a coincidence that it happened in one of the many cities that was studying coronaviruses. And if you want to talk about coincidences, it's a bit of a coincidence that in a city of 11 million people with thousands of meeting places, the epicentre of the outbreak was at one of the only 4 markets selling wildlife. Here's another common lab leaker claim. SARS-CoV-2 was already pre-adapted to humans, which means it must have been designed in a lab.
Yeah, I've heard that one.
This one is totally ridiculous because SARS-CoV-2 isn't pre-adapted to humans. It's a generalist virus that infects lots of animals. And then, of course, we have the furin cleavage site nonsense. A grant proposal that mentioned the Wuhan Institute of Virology also mentioned furin cleavage sites, and SARS-CoV-2 has one. Where do I start? The grant wasn't funded. The grant proposed work on the furin cleavage.
There's 2 eggs for youngs. Do you want me to heat one up for you?
Yes, please.
Okay.
Thanks.
One for Daddy, one for you. Okay. Good. Get rid of them. Finally.
Site to be done at the University of North Carolina in the US, not the Wuhan Institute of Technology. The research was going to be done in lentivirus.
I was dying for those grapes.
Here.
Thank you, Mom.
Okay.
Yay. Oh, my salvation.
Pseudoviruses, not coronaviruses, and the furin cleavage site that was in the original Wuhan virus was a pretty crappy one that no one in their right mind would have designed. And finding a furin cleavage site in SARS-CoV-2 is hardly a big deal. They occur naturally in a lot of coronaviruses, as well as other viruses. But what about the report from the Department of Defence that said they had low confidence intelligence that SARS-CoV-2 came from a lab? Let's ignore the fact that it was low confidence, but what about it? Well, it's important to know that 8 agencies looked at COVID origins. 2 thought lab leak was more likely, 4 thought natural source was more likely, and 2 were undecided. Now, as I mentioned at the beginning of the video, there were also a number of crazy claims made at a recent US Senate hearing. Dr. Dan Wilson from Debunk the Funk fame
He's
has
awesome.
already made a video debunking them.
Love
So
him.
I'll just provide a link to his video instead of reinventing the wheel. So, in summary, lab leakers make lots of sciencey sounding claims to support.
Let's go to him.
The Ballantine
You all
Collection.
can subscribe to her.
Have you ever tried muscadines? If you're an ape man, you'd love that shiz.
She
Giantine
she
apes.
debunks this stuff all the time. All right, here, let's get the link to Debunk the Funk here.
Hello,
My bad,
and welcome.
my bad, that's
The
not it.
bill and its detractors like to make it out to be. This table here shows some of the breakthroughs that have been made possible thanks to gain-of-function research. Closely related to the crazy claim that all scientists are part of a huge conspiracy.
Hey, I'm Dr. Wilson. I'm a PhD molecular biologist, and welcome to another COVID debunking video. You know, when it comes to the idea that SARS-CoV-2 leaked from a lab, there hasn't been any new evidence to support that idea since pretty much early 2020, and there was practically no evidence to begin with. Meanwhile, more and more evidence has piled up demonstrating that yes, SARS-CoV-2 did emerge as a zoonotic spillover. But that hasn't stopped conspiracy theorists, and it hasn't stopped them from being loud enough to get an audience with US lawmakers. This is embarrassing and worrying, so I figured I was going to talk about it today. Specifically, I'm going to be talking about Dr. Robert Redfield, who is the former CDC director, and his testimony that he gave to US Congress just recently. He made a lot of false claims, and in my opinion, represented just how empty the lab leak idea really is. So let's jump right into it and hear what he has to say.
Thank you very much. I think just to emphasize, in early to mid-January, I did have multiple calls with Fauci for our...
So, I want to watch this, but I can't on my channel because he's going to be putting out misinformation. Now, she was quoting misinformants and debunking it. He's going to be actually saying the misinformation. That's going to be a problem. So I'm not going to play that. I'm going to watch it, though. And you guys should go subscribe to both of these channels, too. And if you're subscribed to Jimmy Dore, you should unsubscribe from his fucking channel and start getting some truth instead. Here's a link to this video. I gotta go eat lunch anyway. But listen, I love you guys and I really appreciate you guys coming and checking out Indorphine. I hope you had fun with that. And I'll see you guys on the next show, probably this afternoon later or something. But in the meantime, if you get bored, you want to catch up with me, I'm on Twitter at Nays Garden. All right. It's easy download, easy app to put on your phone. All right. Thanks, guys. Take care. Bye.